Hey everyone, welcome back to Mr. Geopolitics. Today we're going to be going over the latest developments in Ukraine. Alright, so we're going to start off looking at the ISW map, the Institute for the Study of War. If we look at Seversk right here, Seversk, okay, we see that the Russians have taken Bilohorivka on this map. They've also taken Serebryanska, and you also see there's a bulge kind of going towards Seversk. Now if we look at the UAE map, you can see I've highlighted in blue basically the areas which, according to the latest reports, the Russians control. So here we have Bilohorivka and Rihorivka, or the other name for it, Rihorivka, or the other name Serebryanska. You see the little bulge here. Yeah, so according to reports, the Russians are actually on the outskirts of Seversk right now. The latest reports. And they're on the outskirts of Serebryanka. So, Serebryanka. So, you know, initially, last few weeks, I thought that the Russians might do something like this. They might avoid a frontal assault and try to encircle Seversk like that by taking the outlying towns. But now it seems like, it seems as if the Ukrainian lines are crumbling on the front, leading to Seversk. So the Russians it seems, according to reports, that they've made their way to the outskirts. This is just a rough estimate. They might be here, they might be there. Also, from the north, it seems that they're trying to outflank Seversk as well. So, you see how they're trying to do that? Basically, from Serebryanka, they would be, less than 3 miles away. And even if, let's say, they're at, the reports say they've taken Novoselivka, but even if they're there, I mean, less than 3 miles again. So Seversk is on the verge of falling. It is on the verge of falling, and Spirne they've already taken, according to reports. So it seems as if they might be able to cut off Seversk from the south as well. So they're basically trying to cut off Seversk from the north and the south, and going for a frontal assault. So in the last couple days, the Russians, as per usual, they have been pounding Ukrainian positions non-stop. According to reports, sometimes the artillery keeps hitting Ukrainian positions for 21 hours, or sometimes more. Anyways, Soleidar, if we look a little bit to the south of Seversk, Soleidar is right here, and they are also, according to reports, on the outskirts of Soleidar, and they've taken Novokamyanka, according to reports. So this is just a rough estimate, but it could very well be correct, something like this. If we look at the other map, we go down south. Here you see Spirne, and then if we go further south, okay, and we see Soleidar here, and yeah, you see the bulge here going towards Soleidar. Here's another bulge. Right, so yeah, I mean, here's Soleidar, and yeah, the Russians are definitely, even on this map, according to Russian claims, they are on the outskirts of Soleidar. So that's one thing. That's a major development. It seems as if the Ukrainian lines are collapsing. Now, this right here, I highlighted in blue because just so I wouldn't forget. This is Chasiv Yar. The Russians struck what the Ukrainians describe as a residential building in Chasiv Yar. And the Russians claim that the building was empty. They claim it was empty for a long period of time, and then when Ukrainian soldiers were, came into the town, they were stationed in the town. As soon as they were stationed in the town, they took up positions in a residential building, and the Russians struck that building. But of course, the Ukrainians, they're claiming it was strictly residential. And they're claiming that 50 civilians have died, including a little girl and other civilians. And so, yeah, there's competing claims there. Now, if we zoom out, we see that the Russians are just ruthlessly pounding Ukrainian positions. In the Donbas, again, all the fighting is going to come down to Kramatorsk. And in the north, there are reports that the Russians tried to advance, but were held back by the Ukrainians. But with all of these artillery strikes, and with the Russians just ruthlessly pounding Ukrainian positions, I mean, do you see any return fire? I mean, they're going to break sooner or later, and over here they're breaking, right? So, for those who haven't kept track, this Severodonetsk and Lysychansk just fell a few weeks ago. Severodonetsk first fell, and then the Russians, because all the bridges between Severodonetsk and Lysychansk had been blown, they made their way like this. They swooped down from the south, made their way to Lysychansk. From the north, they crossed and went into Lysychansk. And then from the south, they also overwhelmed this position, Zolote, and then Hirske, and then made their way there. So they just overwhelmed Lysychansk, and it fell a week after Severodonetsk, which they fought for a month. Anyways, if we zoom out, we see more bomb symbols. The Russians pounding Ukrainian positions all along the front. These blue symbols represent siren alerts. So the Russians are hitting Ukrainian positions with missiles here. Here, just at Kharkiv, they're pounding Kharkiv still. Just everywhere. Basically everywhere. And as far west as here, as you can see. Right here, Vinnytsia. And if we look, missile strike in Vinnytsia, explosions heard. Death toll 17, 2 children. 8 killed, 30 wounded. So it continues. Something else I should mention. Recently, the Ukrainians, as many know, they've been using the HIMARS, the US-provided HIMARS multiple launch rocket systems. And using that, they struck an area close to Kherson. Kherson was one of the first major settlement to fall to the Russians when the Russians invaded. They came from Crimea. They went up north, and Kherson fell pretty quickly. Now, an area near Kherson, east of Kherson, Nova Kakhovka, the Russians say there's a chemical plant. The Ukrainians claim that it was an ammunition depot, and the Ukrainians struck the site, and the Russians claimed there was saltpeter there. It was for fertilizer. Anyways, a lot of people died from that explosion, and something like over 1,000 people became homeless. Or no, sorry, they lost their jobs. Yeah, over 1,000 people lost their jobs. If we look here, this article on South Front, consequences and details on Ukrainian attack in Novaya Kakhovka. Okay. So 7 people dead, more than 80 others injured. The death toll went up though, I'm pretty sure. 1,800 employees, so well over 1,000. 1,800 employees of industrial and commercial institutions lost their jobs. Residential houses of 37 families were destroyed, because there's a chain reaction, right? When you hit a chemical plant or an ammunition depot, oftentimes if there's if it's near a residential area, there's a domino effect, right? So unfortunately, civilians get caught in the crossfire. Collateral damage. So one question that comes up often is, lately the Ukrainians have been using the HIMARS system to, they destroyed something like close to 20 or more ammunition dumps near the front lines, mostly around Donetsk city, but some close to Luhansk, and some in the Zaporizhia area. So some people wonder, why aren't the Russians able to prevent these attacks? Why can't they just shoot down the rockets from the HIMARS? Are their air defenses not capable of doing it? Is the HIMARS too advanced? Well, no. They, if you look at this article here, several GMLRS projectiles shot down by Russian Panzer S-1 air defense system. GMLRS, basically it's the rockets that the HIMARS system uses. They're very advanced, cutting edge. They use GPS guidance to hit their targets. So, as you can see, the Russians have been able to shoot down some of the rockets from the HIMARS, right? But, it's impossible to shoot down all of them, right? And reportedly, the Ukrainians, they don't just use the HIMARS by itself. They use the HIMARS, and then at the same time, they use Grad, Uragan rockets. That's another, it's a Soviet-era multiple launch rocket system. So they launch a bunch of projectiles at the same time, and there's a reason why they're hitting ammo depots, ammo dumps. Because with an ammo dump, let's say the Ukrainians launch 8 missiles. Let's say the Russians shoot down 7 of them. As long as one hits the ammo dump, because of the domino effect, you're still going to get a hit. The ammo dump is still going to be destroyed. But in the big picture, guys, look at this. In the big picture, the Russians, they're over, when it comes to projectiles, artillery, mortars, whether it's self-propelled artillery, howitzers, whether it's, whatever it is, the Russians are, overwhelmingly winning that game. So yes, the destroying ammo dumps has a psychological impact. It's very discernible. It's very audible. It's demoralizing for the Russians, but I think in the long run, because these ammo depots in a high intensity conflict like this, they are stocked for probably a few days, right? They have enough supplies for a few days. And the Russians have a lot more ammunition where that came from. So, they haven't really, their artillery barrages haven't stopped, right? So, in the big picture, it's, hitting those ammo depots, it's, how would I describe it? It has more bark than bite. Realistically, You're better off probably hitting command and control centers. You're better off hitting a training center. But again, the Russians have air defenses, and if they're shooting down these missiles, let's say you hit an airfield, and let's say you hit an airfield with 8 missiles, and 7 get shot down, or 6. Well, that one missile, you might damage the airstrip, but that can be fixed in a few hours, right? Whereas if you hit an ammo depot, kaboom, you have a huge explosion. It has a psychological effect. But anyways, it is what it is. What else did I want to talk about? Yeah, so something else I should mention. There's been news recently that Russia, according to the White House, the Russians are purchasing, or they've purchased, or they're attaining hundreds of drones, including armed drones, from Iran. And some people are skeptical, but people have done open source research. They've conducted research, and in the last few months, there have been at least 30, this person says 40 Iranian cargo flights to Moscow, which are not, they're unusual and they stand out. So I heard about this more than a month ago, about Iranian cargo flights going to Russia. As you can see here, it's going from Tehran to Moscow. I was wondering what the Iranians were sending to the Russians, but now it seems that at least the Americans believe that they're armed drones, hundreds of armed drones, and the Iranians are providing training. Some people are skeptical again. We have to wait and see, but the thing is, the Iranians do have a UAV industry that is pretty advanced. In the last few years, the Iranians have seized, they've been able to capture several advanced American drones, and they've sent their drones to Yemen, and a few years ago, at one point, Iranian drones, the Houthi rebels in Yemen, they struck an Aramco Saudi oil facility, and half of the Saudis' oil reserves were destroyed in that strike, and those were Iranian drones. And that site was defended by the latest variant of the Patriot air defense system, the PAC-3, and there were half a dozen Patriot systems in the area, but the Iranian drones still hit their target and destroyed the facilities at Aramco. So Iran, because they've reversed engineered the American technology, they have a pretty advanced drone industry, UAV industry. They produce everything from suicide drones to they produce stealth drones, they produce low altitude drones, high altitude drones, you name it. So and the Russians, they've just been hit with sanctions, so that might throw a wrench in their plans. The Russians do have a UAV industry. They have some decent models, but the only model that we know that they've mass produced is the Orlan 10, and the Orlan 10 is, it's a reconnaissance drone, and their stocks have been pretty reportedly depleted after months of fighting. A lot of those drones have been shot down. The Ukrainians have showed them off even, so it seems the Russians are in need of drones, and the Iranians have drones, and the Iranians have exported them, to Tajikistan, Ethiopia, Yemen, Iraq. They've used them in Syria, so the Iranian drones are battle tested, they're proven. And the Iranians, they're used to sanctions. Their military has been striving for self-sufficiency for quite a while now, and the entire process the Iranians, the process of building weapons is they're pretty much sanction proof. So the Russians need drones, the Iranians have them, and it seems they worked out a deal. But we're gonna have to wait and see. Oh yeah, something else I should mention. The Ukrainians have a few days ago there was Zelensky reportedly he ordered the Ukrainian military to go on an offensive and take back the southern areas of Ukraine, including Kherson and some of the Zaporizhia area, maybe Mariupol, I don't know. But Ukrainians are not, it's not looking good in the Donbas, as I showed you. It's just not looking good. Their lines are crumbling. And the Ukrainians have said for a while they're going to go on a counteroffensive, in June or July. So this would be the time. You see these two symbols here. Basically, a few hours ago there was quite a few more. And yeah, I mean, I don't understand really if the Ukrainians were going to do this, why they had to let the whole world know. I mean, the Russians are obviously going to prepare now. And this is a very good positions the Russians have taken, Kherson, because there's a natural barrier here, the river, right? And some people say that the Ukrainians are actually going to destroy this dam when they attack. When they launch their offensive, they're going to destroy this dam, which is going to flood Kherson. But that would make it difficult for, the Ukrainians to take Kherson as well, right? I mean, floods are going to, make it difficult for both sides. But anyways, the Ukrainians have asked the residents of Kherson to leave, and it seems like they're determined to take Kherson. But again, there's a natural barrier. Let's say the Ukrainians are able to get to this area here, then they'll have to go over the river, cross the bridges. One thing the Russians could do is they could let them cross, allow them to cross, make it look like a retreat, and then when the Ukrainians, when their numbers reach a critical mass, the Russians could simply just blow up the bridge, and then the Ukrainians will be stranded, and then the Russians can launch a counteroffensive. So the Russians might be willing to give up some parts of Kherson if that means, surrounding and destroying another Ukrainian army. So it might be a trap. You never know, and we're just gonna have to wait and see. But so far, it seems as if the Russians have launched a lot of projectiles at the Ukrainian positions. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. I don't know. For a while I thought it was a ruse, maybe maybe they were just, the Ukrainians were saying they were going to attack Kherson, because if you're gonna do that, why would you tell everyone, right? But yeah, I mean, I thought maybe it was to make the Russians divert manpower and resources to Kherson. But who knows? We're going to have to wait and see. Only time will tell. So yeah, I mean, let's just see what happens. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe, and have a good one. Thank you.